Hi everybody, my name is Ross and I want to welcome you to our new channel, Viral Crypto. This is our first video and we're glad to have you with us on an exciting new journey into the world of cryptocurrency. I'm going to do my very best to help you guys understand and to grow your wealth through cryptocurrency. In today's video, you're going to be learning about what is Bitcoin, why was Bitcoin created, and why should you consider Bitcoin in your own life. So firstly, what is Bitcoin? Bitcoin, to put it simply, is a decentralized digital currency. Let's break that down into a few key elements. Firstly, Bitcoin is decentralized. Now, what does this mean? Well, to understand decentralization, you have to think about centralization. And centralization is all about when decisions are made by an organization that controls something and the users simply have to follow that thing, right? For example, in Malaysia, recently the Education Ministry abolished the primary school leaving exam known as UPSR. You know, when I was studying in school, UPSR was compulsory, it's very important. You know, I was very stressed taking it. But now the ministry has removed it. This removal was not something that the parents, the teachers, or even the students could decide upon, right? It was purely decided and implemented by those in the positions of power in the Ministry of Education. So that's what centralization looks like, right? There's a system of power that we simply follow. Now, when it comes to decentralization, power is shifted away from those few people at the top of an organization to everyone who participates. Almost like a democracy, one person gets one vote. And you can see that happening in cryptocurrency. There is no single organization or authority which controls or governs Bitcoin, for example. It's shared across everyone who participates in the network. Decentralization gives you the power to be in control of your own cryptocurrency. Here's a simple example that I use to explain decentralization. Have you guys watched the Netflix series The Queen's Gambit? If you haven't yet, I highly recommend it. It's an amazing series, right? In this series, the game of chess is the highlight, right? And if you've ever played chess competitively, right, you would know that during a chess game, each player keeps a record of the moves that they're making and the moves that the other person is making as well. They write it down on a piece of paper so that they know what they've moved and they also know what the opponent has moved as well. Now, this means that both players are keeping each other accountable, right? Should something happen, let's say the board falls down or someone tries to cheat, they would know, right? Because they can reconstruct the game very precisely based on the record, right? Because there's no single authority governing the chess game, right? It's the players who govern themselves. I'm watching you, you're watching me, right? Each of them use each other, and this is called a peer-to-peer version of a government system, right? So to recap, Bitcoin is decentralized. Why? Because it's not controlled by a single person or organization. Instead, it's peer-to-peer. Now, if you're enjoying this video so far, remember to like, comment, and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date with all our latest explanations in crypto. Secondly, Bitcoin is digital. Now, what does that mean? Well, let me ask you this. Everyone's talking about Bitcoin, but has anyone ever shown you a Bitcoin? Does it look like this? Can you see it, feel it, touch it, smell it? This isn't really a Bitcoin, right? This is just a metal coin that has the letter B on it, right? You can't see it, smell it, touch it, or even look at it, right? Because it's digital, right? Now, technically, you can see it, quote unquote, online, but most people can't even describe what it looks like. Bitcoin simply looks like a list of transactions. In fact, let me show you an example. The picture that you see on screen now is actually a screenshot of my Bitcoins in my Luno wallet. As you can see, it's just a list of numbers. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, huh? A list of numbers? But how is that valuable? I'm just looking at numbers like X, 1, 3, 5, 0 and stuff like that. Why is that a valuable thing? Well, it's valuable because I can trust that those transactions are true. And that's really the ultimate value of Bitcoin. The reason why each transaction of Bitcoin is true has to do with the technology behind Bitcoin, which is called blockchain, right? And this is the technology behind most of the cryptocurrencies in the world. Now, this technology is a little bit more complex and I'll be covering about it in a future video, so stay tuned for that. The takeaway point that I want you to keep in mind is that Bitcoin is a system of payment that is fully digital. So keep that in mind every time someone asks you, what is Bitcoin? Is it this little coin? No, it's completely digital. In fact, it's a digital record of transactions. Now we want to talk about currency. Now, the simplest definition of currency is that it's a medium of exchange, right? Some people differentiate between the word money and currency, but for the purposes of this video, let's consider them to be the same. Oftentimes we use the word currency to refer to the system of money of a particular country, like how the United States has the US dollar, or how Malaysia has the Malaysian ringgit, right, which I have here, for example, right? Now, the thing is, usually currency is related to a system of money of a particular region. Bitcoin, however, is not restricted to a specific region, right? As I explained earlier, Bitcoin is completely digital. Hence, it's often called digital currency or sometimes even called virtual currency. But then, is it still classified as a currency, even if it's not specific to a country or an area? In my opinion, yes, it's the currency of the internet, right? It's like internet money, right? Now, another thing to think about is Bitcoin a medium of exchange? Well, ask yourself, how many shops can you name with your fingers accept Bitcoin as payments for goods and services? I can think about 2. I bet you probably can't even think of any, right? Or if you did, you probably think of the first one that I thought of, which was Tesla, right? Now, see, this is one of the downsides of Bitcoin. It's not widely accepted as a medium of exchange. One of the reasons for this is because Bitcoin is not yet widely adopted around the world. Yes, there are people using it and it's often hyped up, but most shops and services don't really accept Bitcoin as a payment yet, right? Now, the reason why is because Bitcoin's fluctuating prices make it very hard to be a stable medium of exchange. Imagine if you bought an apple today at 1 ringgit and tomorrow that 1 ringgit was suddenly worth 30 ringgit, right? If I had waited just one day, I would have 30 apples for the same amount of money, right? That doesn't really make sense, right? An asset that fluctuates in price and value like that is not a very suitable medium of exchange. We want stability when making purchases. Now, this does not mean that it's completely impossible, right? In fact, using Bitcoin as a payment system was the forefront of what the creator of Bitcoin intended. More about that in a moment. In fact, a Dutch family liquidated all their money and bought Bitcoin exclusively to use it for their day-to-day transactions. In fact, the father of the family said that he would never cut his hair until he found a store that can accept Bitcoin as payment. Sure enough, he did. Oh man, I hope I never find a barber with Bitcoin as payment because I love my hair. But the takeaway point here is that yes, Bitcoin can function as a currency, but it does have some downsides to it. So we've looked at how Bitcoin is decentralized, how it's digital, and also how it's a currency. But now we want to understand further about its history. Firstly, Bitcoin was created by Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, the identity of this person is a complete mystery till today and probably will be one of the biggest mysteries in our lifetime. We don't know who it is, but I suspect it's not just one person, probably a group of individuals, right? If it was just one person, it would be really quite incredible. Right? Towards the end of 2008, an anonymous person by this name, Satoshi Nakamoto, released a Bitcoin white paper. This is a document that details how Bitcoin would become an alternative payment system that did not require the control of any government or institution. But why was it in 2008? What happened that triggered the creation of Bitcoin? It was the 2008 financial crisis. In a nutshell, the crash was caused by the financial institutions, particularly in the United States, being very irresponsible by issuing loans to high-risk borrowers and repackaging them in extremely complicated derivatives that nobody really understood, right? I bet even they didn't understand. Now, what happened then was that people were unable to repay back their loans and the entire financial system crashed. Of course, the main effects of this was felt in the USA, but because of globalization, the whole world felt the ripple effect as well. Bitcoin was created because of the failures of the financial institutions. They're supposed to protect our money, but they were being very irresponsible. To quote Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin, this is what he wrote in an online forum. The root problem with conventional currency is that all the trust that's required to make it work. The central bank must be trusted not to debase the currency, but the history of fiat currency is full of breaches of that trust. Right? Fiat currency here refers to the normal currency that we use day to day. At this point, I usually get a lot of questions from people regarding this. Now, if Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin, doesn't that mean it's centralized because he's the creator, right? Doesn't he control it? How can someone create something but not control it? Well, let me give you an example. Think back to your school days when you learned about the ever-famous Pythagoras theorem, right? Pythagoras created it, but anyone can use it, right? He doesn't control his theorem. Anybody is free to use it, right? It's the same with Bitcoin. Satoshi created a Bitcoin protocol, kind of like a mathematical theorem in a sense, right? And it governs how Bitcoins are created and processed. But as I explained earlier, the control over Bitcoin is decentralized. In other words, it's shared across all the participants of the Bitcoin network, not a single person. Now, there's much more to the history of Bitcoin, which will be covered in a separate video. For now, just keep this in mind. And the reason as to why Bitcoin was created was in response to the failures of the financial system. So now we've covered the what and the why. By now, you should have a brief idea of what Bitcoin is and why it was created. The big question is now, why should you care about Bitcoin? If you're watching this video, chances are most of your life was spent without even hearing the word Bitcoin, right? I did not hear about the word Bitcoin until the year 2017. Right? The reason I think you should, however, be paying attention right now is because progress is inevitable. Now, let me explain. Firstly, what does the word inevitable mean? It basically means that whether you like it or not, things are going to happen, right? And the same is with regards to cryptocurrency. Now, let's look, for example, at the evolution of money across the years, right? Years ago, the earliest form of money was in the system of barter trade. In fact, let me tell you a story. My own grandmother used the barter trade system. She would grow the most amazing vegetables in her garden, and then she would barter trade them at the market for chicken eggs with the other chicken egg sellers, right? Now, the chicken seller wanted her valuable vegetables, right? And she wanted the tasty eggs. So this perfectly illustrated the barter system where two parties have an agreed upon value as the medium of exchange. Now, the problem with that system is that it's really hard to carry around a basket of vegetables and a tray of eggs everywhere you go, right? And there's no guarantee that the person across from you wants to buy what you have to offer, right? And that is when people started minting currency, right? First started with coins, right? So of course, well, not the Bitcoin, but it started with coins like this, right? We're very familiar with coins. And oftentimes you notice coins are made of precious metals, right? Or metals in general. Now, when people discovered precious metals, they considered them valuable, right? Because it's rather scarce, right? Gold, silver, not commonly found. Countries would stamp the face of their kings and queens onto these coins and declare them as a valuable medium of exchange. But coins are pretty heavy and they're not so suitable to carry around, right? Ta-da! Then came the invention of paper currency, and then that made it much more easier to carry them around. Later, with the invention of the internet, paper currency went online, and now we have online banks, credit card accounts, PayWave, and so on. Now, my grandmother never had an online bank account. All she understood in her lifetime was paper currency. That's all she knew, right? But whether she liked it or not, the financial system progressed around her. Hence why I said progress is inevitable. Whether you like it or not, it's happening. With every subsequent technological development, humans have progressively tried to make money better, faster, more secure, and so on. It's my personal opinion, and I truly believe this, that cryptocurrency fits the next step in the evolution of money. You can buy Bitcoin and be part of this revolution, or simply watch the world go by. So let's recap what we've learned so far. Firstly, what is Bitcoin? Well, it's a decentralized digital currency. Secondly, why was Bitcoin created? Well, it was created by Satoshi Nakamoto as an alternative payment system to the failed financial system. But why should you care? Well, because money is evolving whether you like it or not. So, if you're interested in investing and owning a piece of the future of money, then I've got some good news for you. You can easily participate in the financial revolution. All you need to do is to download the Luno app. Luno is the first cryptocurrency exchange to get licensed and regulated in Malaysia, so you're safe to use it. Once you've downloaded it, go to the reward section and type in this special reward code, CDR3Q. Once you've done that, you can start depositing and buying cryptocurrency. If you purchase a minimum of 250 ringgit of any cryptocurrency, you'll receive a 25 ringgit reward of Bitcoin. But just make sure you key in the code CDR3Q before you make any deposit or purchase. Thanks for watching this video on Bitcoin. If you found this video informative, do share it with your friends and family so that they can benefit too. Once again, a quick disclaimer that nothing in this video should constitute financial advice. You are responsible for your own financial choices. At Viral Crypto, we seek to educate people more about cryptocurrency so that they can make informed decisions in life. Do help us out by liking, commenting and subscribing, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest educational videos we have on cryptocurrency. We'll be releasing one new video every week. Remember to follow our social media links below to receive updates as well. Until next time, may the Bitcoin be with you.